So I'm curious, how many of you have started a new job and said, oh crap, I can't believe I did that again? Anybody? Yeah, there's a couple. So it's just me. It's good to know. So the last time I did that was in 2013. And it'll help to know a little bit about where I came from. So prior to that, I was an executive in an organization where I had walked in, and within a couple weeks, I'd found that I'd been lied to. I was walking into a deficit situation. I was an executive director of a nonprofit organization, and I didn't have enough money to get through the year and pay my people. So what I did is what I think a lot of us leaders would do. So because it was a nonprofit, I went to my board, I went to my staff, and I started talking and putting together a plan with all of those people to rectify the situation and to build revenue quickly so that we could all get paid. Because I was there for a job and to do great work, but also, let's be honest, to be paid, right? So fast forward, I left that job, and let me tell you, we did make up the deficit, but we just kind of squeaked over the line, just a little bit. So it didn't really feel like success. The next job, the very next job, I walked in to a different organization. Now, I was brought to that organization to build a healthy leadership culture, because that culture that existed in the organization at the time was one full of a lot of pain, a lot of negativity, and a lot of people who were in drama most of the day. So I was brought in, I can tell, we've had unique experiences. So I was brought in to change that. And I did that by looking at how to build leaders at every single level of the organization. Not just the executive team and not just the middle manager, but how to empower each and every person in their job every day so they could make a difference, so they could feel valued, so they could be seen and heard for the expertise they bring to the table. And for 6 months, we were going pretty well. And then I looked at the financials in a different way, and I said, oh crap, I can't believe I'm here again. I found for the second time in 2 jobs that yes, there was a deficit coming down the pipeline. It was a nonprofit organization again, and what had happened is they had just taken money that had been restricted. Taken money that had been restricted and used it for operations, and that's a big no-no in the nonprofit world. So we had 9 to 12 months to change that. And again, so we could pay people, so we could continue our services. This was a Montessori school serving underprivileged children. That was a huge burden for myself, for sure, as well as for everybody else who worked at this organization. So what did we do? Again, who was my team? The executive team was really busy in trying to figure out who was to blame and to talk to the board about what to do. But they also tasked me to figure out how to find some solutions. And I was fortunate. We had already started building a culture of leadership. So what I did is I went to my direct team, which was 7 team members. And I was completely transparent and said to them in the moment, hey, we have a big job, and I'm ready to test you all as new leaders. Are you ready to step in and help me figure out some solutions? Thank God they said yes. Thank God. So what we then did is spend 3 months coming up with as many strategies as we could to build revenue. We came up with over 100 strategies. And then the next 6 months, we implemented those strategies. And unlike my first time, this time, we were able to not just hit the mark, but we started thriving as an organization, and we hit new heights in revenue that we didn't think was possible. It was unbelievable, and it was way different than my first experience. So after we celebrated and we got really excited, right, that we didn't have to turn people away and fire them in an organization where there weren't enough people to really, continue the business, I went back and I looked what made my team successful this time around, because I didn't get the result the first time. And what I did is I did a little research. I found in 2010 and in 2015, MIT had done this research already. Of course, that would have helped me a little if I would have recognized this. But hindsight is a great opportunity as well. So what I found was that there are 3 things that makes a team successful. And this is 3 things that make them successful, whether it's on an online platform and you're meeting virtually or in the real world, okay, in regular meetings. So the first thing is social connectivity. The second thing is that everybody is an equal participant. And the third thing is that there are more women in the team and at the table. So I'm gonna tell you how this worked with my team. So I was lucky. I had 7 team members. We had already begun really galvanizing as a team and working together and getting to know each other. So we had already started with social connectivity. We cared about each other. We were building trust and we were building respect. So we were already on our way there. Now we didn't all like each other, let me be honest about that, but we cared, and that's what helped us build a strong team. The second thing is they were all heads of programs or functions or operations, so they were used to reporting regularly on their area, and they were used to sharing the time. So there was nobody that was pulling time away from each other, and there was nobody slacking off either. Everybody was an equal participant. And lastly, there's a gift sometimes in a nonprofit in that there tends to be more women. So in order for me to hit that third element, it was sheer luck. Out of 7 members of my team, 5 were women. Now, I'm guessing that some of you, especially since there's a large number of men in the room, are like, maybe this is not, like, I'm just curious, why women and why would that be different? Well, it goes back to social connectivity. So whether we like it or not, women are cultivated to have empathy much differently in our society. They work with each other and take social cues to feel empathy and to connect regularly. And that's not always true with men. It's not always cultivated for men in our culture. And so having more women naturally increases that empathy and that social connectivity. And while I had 5 women out of 7, that certainly helped. But I have to tell you, the 2 men that were part of the team, they were working for a nonprofit that was helping underserved kids. So they already were heart-centered. They already had a great deal of empathy. So they were equals at the table. So those are the 3 things that lead to a successful team. And frankly, I just kind of fell into it and was lucky. But what I wasn't lucky around, or I should say I was lucky, but it was a little more planned, was the innovation part. We came up with 100 ideas, and some of them were good enough that we set the organization into a whole another level of success. So I'm gonna tell you then what some of those elements were. And again, I went back because you don't even always know what's happening as you go. You don't always realize what sets you up for success. So I did a little research, and there was already a study. Once again, right? There's a ton of studies out there. In 2009, the Journal of Marketing looked at over 700 organizations and in 17 different countries, and they found that there were a series of things that contributed to a culture of innovation and creativity. And I'm going to share some of those with you today because I think they're really important if you want to be on the cutting edge of what you all do. And you clearly need to, given who the folks are in this room. So the first one is you all need to be pointed in the same direction. You have to know your strategic objectives. You have to be aligned in how that works. So for this nonprofit, the first thing we did was look at the mission, look at the values, and look at our last strategic plan. And everything we did had to fit within that place. The second thing you need to do is create an environment that is judgment-free and also celebrates mistakes. Because fear pops up, barriers pop up, and that really keeps people from being at their greatness and to being innovative. So you have to create an environment that allows for that. So those were things we did. We created confidentiality. We talked about we absolutely needed people to just allow things to happen organically and not to be ruled by judgment in the room. And every meeting we started with celebrating our mistakes. Because if we were making mistakes, then we were taking risks, and we knew that some good stuff was gonna come out of it. So the third thing we did, well, we didn't do this, it was set for us, right? Big goals. Holy crap, there's nothing bigger, right? Than you're about to lose your job and everyone around you is in a place where they aren't feeling safe. So that was a really big goal. Big goals inspire people. They motivate people to think differently and outside of that box. And so what kind of goals can you come up with that inspire those people around you? The next thing is creating time to think. Now, I'll be honest about this one. From a place, this didn't happen organically, but what did was we were interested in work-life balance. And in the midst of chaos, we really wanted to keep work-life balance. And creativity and thinking came as a byproduct of that. So for instance, we made sure that people took lunches, that they took walking meetings in parks, that they were allowed to go write a paper for their master's thesis as long as they were getting their job done. We allowed for flexibility. We allowed them to have coffee out of the office or together as a unit in the office so that they could just get different stimulus in their life. And to that, there are a lot of great ideas generated. And we know this works because Google, as well as LinkedIn, 3M, the companies that are known for innovation, Google, for instance, 20% of their engineers' time is allowed for just researching whatever they want. And the reason is because when people have broad interests and broad ideas and broad perspectives, then they can make those connections all across their life. And that means greater innovation and greater creativity. The last three I'll go through quickly because I want to honor our time. So you have to have a curious mind. We were lucky. We were at a Montessori school. That's the basic tenet. So in terms of having a curious mind, it's not just taking the ideas and the creativity, but asking why. Having someone answer the question, asking why again, getting in a cycle of asking why until somebody can't answer that question. The second thing you can do is ask, what if? What if we had the most amazing digital system and we wanted to project that and have people on Mars listen to it? Now, I may just be reading a little too much, but what if there was a strong enough signal that that could really happen? Then certainly in the United States, we could get a regular digital system that we could hear and that we could what is wrong with me all of a sudden? Certainly we could get a strong enough signal, thank you, that we could then hear and be part of a digital community. Okay, so the last two. We have to support innovation and we have to support risk. So how do we do that? We reward. We reward when people are innovative and we reward when they're taking risks. There are a million ideas out there, and that's all they are ideas, until we start really breaking out and allowing risk to happen. When companies do not support risk and they take the safe path, mediocrity happens. And mediocrity kills innovation and it kills creativity. Kodak is a great example. So, known as a great film company, right? A great photo company, a great photography business. The guys on the front line said, hey, everything's going to digital. If you don't invest, we're going to be left behind. The senior management said, you know what? We're really comfortable in the film, and we're going to stay there. How many people see Kodak on the market anymore? Right? It kills innovation. So, my parting words to you are this. If you want to have highly successful teams that are innovative and creative, the first thing you need to do is be the leader that you were all meant to be. The second is build highly successful teams with those three criteria. And the last thing is set your environment up for success. Build a culture that is full of innovation and creativity. Thank you.